Hello everybody and welcome to another player card re-rank. I've done this previously for Edge of the Earth and the Dunwich Legacy, but now we are doing this here for Path To Carcosa, which came out roughly 6 years ago. By the time that this video is coming out, it's like, and by the time of recording as well, it's like 5 and a half ish. It's like maybe a bit less than a half, maybe a bit more. I'm just rounding up to 6 because it works a lot better. Where's Safina? I'm not ranking investigators. Investigators get their own special ranking video today. We're talking about just the player cards. We're not going to be talking about any investigators, because the investigators already get their love at other times throughout the year, while the player cards only get their love like once every apparently 6 years. So, this of course is my own opinions on the cards. I am just one guy on the internet who, yes, I do make videos about Arkham Horror, but I'm just a guy making videos about Arkham Horror. So these are just my own opinions and thoughts on the cards. I'm going to go through, read the card, explain like what, where I'm thinking, and then put it into one of the tiers, which is Busted. Busted is the top tier. This is the highest tier that a card can get. This is a card that is just absolutely busted. It breaks an aspect of the game, or it trivializes the game at a rate that is high above what the card demands. So, for example, if there was a 0 experience card that just said, hey, draw an Elder Sign, that would be busted. However, if there's a 5 experience card that draws an Elder Sign, that card won't be busted. It's just like what you put in versus what you take out. Fantastic are cards that are really, 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 really good. These are cards that, while not busted, are just cards that always hit a very, very consistent power level, and they're very good at the rate that they demand from you versus what they give back to you. Great cards are not quite fantastic, but still very, very, very good. Good cards are good. Good cards are good. That's how it is. Fine are cards that aren't good, but certainly aren't bad. We're going to see a lot of cards that you have to kind of build around, or you need multiple pieces in order to get like a card being like a fine card that's built around like 6 other cards to be great. Isn't great, because it takes a lot more than just that card to get it to that level, which is why those cards will probably be in fine. And then we have the I regret playing this tier, which are the cards that are just like the closest that we can get to saying a card is bad. I don't think there are a lot of cards anymore in this game that are outright bad. I think that, like, especially like in the later campaign expansions, but there are cards that I would say are, personally, I view them as worse than other cards. So why don't we dive in, get this show on the road, and we're going to start with the 32 Colt. This is a 3-cost firearm, takes up 1 hand slot, uses 6 ammo. As an action, you spend an ammo, you fight. You deal +1 damage for this attack. So this is a weapon that does not give you a stat boost, so it does not increase your fist. However, what it does do is it just always deal +1 damage at a rate that is pretty damn good. 6 shots. So this has the potential to deal 12 damage. The downside, of course, is that this card, like, ultimately requires you to have 5 fist natively. Like, you can play this in Roland Banks, but it's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a struggle. Like, Roland already struggles with the 45 automatic, and I know that he's also gonna struggle with the 32 Colt. And people like Mark Harrigan or Daniela Reyes, for example, who have 5 fists, they can make this card do things. However, where does it live? Where does it live on the tier list? It's definitely not great. I would say this card is good. I would say this card is also fine. Most of the time, this card is kind of just okay. But I do think that there is a lot of, like, a cheap weapon that requires you to, like, just have your fist be 5 or 6 is good. So I think this card is a good card. but I don't think is for every investigator, but I do think that it is good in the homes that it lives in. We got True Grit. This is a 3-cost talent. Can be assigned damage dealt to other investigators' location. It soaks for 3 damage. This card is certainly not bad, but it's certainly not good. I think this card is fine. I'll play this card. I like it in Mark Harrigan, obviously. I like it in, I'd even play it in Daniela Reyes, right? It really just comes down to the rate of 3 for 3 is also pretty good, but I would rather just play better Soak or other cards in my deck. And I do think that it's just fine. It's just fine. It's by no means bad, but like the effect isn't going to blow anybody away, right? All right, let me handle this. This is a 0-cost event. It's a Spirit. Fast. Play after another investigator draws a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects. You are considered to have drawn that encounter card instead. You get +2 to each of your skills when resolving that card's revelation effect. So I know that Travis and Bryn are high on this card. I am not as high on this card, personally. I do think that for when you... obviously, Mythos deck protection, I think is good. Is good. But I also think that now, unless you're even rogues, you can kind of just fight your way through it. And I like, it's one of those things where to me the reality is that I'm unfortunately not scared of the Mythos deck anymore. I'm just not too worried about that. Man, my bit rate is just I hit 8,000 kilobytes per second there. The effect is, the +2 is really nice, right? You just you take the stat, you take the brain stat from someone who can't, you take the foot stat from someone who can't. But it's I'm hard to say that this card, I don't play it, but I'm going to go beyond my own thought for it. And I do think this card is a great card. I don't think it's fantastic because it doesn't to me, it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't forward the game, and that's where I'm looking for my fantastic cards that help me forward the game. This more lets me survive the game, which, while great, isn't fantastic. But I do think for me personally, I think the cards are good. But if I take my own thoughts out it is a great card. It's just all the numbers on it are really good, right? And the effect is really nice. But I don't think it's fantastic. Like I said, I personally, I would like it to be good in my heart of hearts. All right, Ever Vigilant. 1 at a time, play up to 3 assets from your hand, reducing the resource cost of each by 1. This is a 0-cost, 1 experience tactic. This card actually costs 7 experience. No one told you that, right? No one's actually told you this? There's a little fun little part of this card where it's actually costing you 7 experience. You're asking, how the heck does that work? Well, because you really only want to play this card with Stick to the Plan, wherever it is. Somewhere in here. We'll find it eventually. Stick to the Plan, are you in here? I'm pretty sure you're in this set, right? At least I remember putting you here when I was making the stuff. Ah, there it is, Stick to the Plan. So Stick to the Plan is obviously going to be a great card once we get to it. But, I personally would never, ever want to play this card if I didn't have Stick to the Plan. So I think this card is just good. I think the reason why this card is great is because of Stick to the Plan. So that's why I think it lives. It's better than fine. It's a good card, but Stick to the Plan is the reason why this card exists, right? You can definitely play it in your deck, but I think it's a mistake. And it being with Stick to the Plan, I think is just a nice good thing. With Stick to the Plan, obviously, it's great. Even fantastic even, right? But we're going to get to this in Resourceful, right? Where the reason why this card becomes better is because of Stick to the Plan, not because of Ever Vigilant, right? So, like, the reason why Resourceful is a problem is because it's the reason why recursion is so good, right? Like, it helps recursion. So yeah, you can recur your 5 experience card, but your 5 experience card, for example, is not the reason why that 5 experience card is good. The fact that you can play it and recur it is not what makes that card good. Resourceful is what is making that recursion good. And I think the same thing exists here with Ever Vigilant. The card is just the card itself is just good, but it becomes great in combination with Stick to the Plan. But I think that's more of a Stick to the Plan thing than an Ever Vigilant thing. Fieldwork. This is a 2-cost talent. As a reaction, after you move to a location, if that location has at least 1 clue on it, you get to exhaust Fieldwork. You get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this phase. So Travis had actually recently played this. I saw it in action for the first time in a while. I mean, like, obviously, this works really good with Ashcan Pete, works really good with Ursula Downs, but Travis just played it in a Trish deck, and it was still very impressive. Where do I want to give this card? I mean, I think the card is just passively great, right? I think it's just passively a great card. It requires very little, and you're gonna get a bunch of unexpected courages out of it, you know? Like, how many unexpected courages do you need to get out of Fieldwork for it to be worth it? Because the answer is probably 3, right? Like, if you use this 3 times, you've probably got your use out of it, right? Yeah, I think it's just I mean, like, it even helps things like I said, Travis played it in Trish. It made his Lucky Cigarette Case 3s better. I think it's great. Archaic Glyphs. I regret playing this. No, this card's fine. I'm not going to read the untranslated version. The untranslated versions are kind of just fine. They don't do anything, right? Like, they do give you resources, but you don't want them in your deck. So they move pretty quickly into the I regret playing this camp if you keep it in for more than, like, 1 scenario after translating it. Actually, if you keep it in for more than 0 after translating it, it's kind of not good. So, yeah. Thanks, Strip. Thanks so much for the follow. Welcome to the goddamn table. It's a pleasure to have you. Alright, no Stone Unturned. 2-cost, Insight. Choose an investigator location. The investigator searches the top 6 cards of his or her deck for a card, then draws it, and shuffle his or her deck. I'll be honest, I don't like to play this card outside of Mandy and Joe Diamond. The 2-cost to look at the top 6 and draw 1 isn't really that hot for me. And that's the reason, like, why I play Eureka, right? Because Eureka does a half-assed version of this card, but it allows you to do its effect while also passing a test, right? Like, so you get to use Eureka in an investigate action. You don't get to use No Stone Unturned with an action, but I think that it's just, I think the card's, like, good, because, like, you know, getting a card is nice, but it's not what I want to be doing. I think it's, like, I think it's great in Joe. I think it's fantastic in Mandy, but I think that it is not great everywhere else, so it's just kind of, like, good. It's kind of a good card. In the Know. 3-cost, 1 experience. Uses 3 secrets. Spend a secret. Investigate any reveal location in play as if you were at that location. This, like, what really sucks about this card is I think it's just, hey, Shark Boy, 3 consecutive streams in a watch streak. Dab for Shark Boy. I think the problem with In the Know is that it's just a little bit too much, right? Like, if this cost 3 and was fast, I'd be interested. If this costed 2, I'd probably be more interested. But I think overall, this card just, like, yeah, like in Trish, it's good. I'm going to respect that. But I think overall, this card is just kind of poopy. I'm going to put it in fine, because it's certainly not bad. But, like, thank God it only costs 1 experience. But I think if this cost 2 or stayed at 3 and was fast, I think the card would be good. But I think right now it's just a little bit awkward. I've played it a few times, and I've, like, never really used it that much. And, like, maybe that's on me to not see it. But even in Trish, I think the card is still just, like, it's kind of just fine. It's kind of just fine. All right, on to the green cards. We got Stealth. It's an action. Exhaust Stealth. Evade. The chosen enemy gets -2 evade for this evasion attempt. If you successfully evade the enemy, disengage with it, but do not exhaust it. Until the end of your turn, that enemy cannot engage you. I mean, I think this card is fine. There's obviously decks where it's like, you know, like I like it in Finn, right? Because you get the... You can do it for free, right? Because you can just use you can use bold evade actions for our good friend Finn. I like it in Keimani as well. I mean, with Keimani, you want to upgrade into the other one, right? But it's kind of just not great, right? Like, it doesn't solve a problem. Like, it actually, like, if there's another person at your location, and for some reason they need to go first, Stealth actually is, like, not great. I think, yeah, the card's just not great. Not great. Sleight of Hand. Fast. Play only during your turn. Put an item ass into play from your hand at the end of your turn where that ass is still in play. Return it to your hand. So this actually card is very similar to what I was saying about Resourceful. Where, like, but it's kind of like the opposite, right? Like, if Sleight of Hand is played fairly, this card is pretty benign, right? Like, if it's played with the Necronomicon, for example, that's pretty gross. So yeah, this card is like, it falls into the similar camp of like Resourceful, which you can't see, but it's just like, it's hiding right there. That's Resourceful, by the way. It does a lot of really like gross things, and it in itself is kind of an issue. We're doing the no taboo list here for all of this stuff. But I do think Sleight of Hand is going to be fantastic. I don't think it's particularly busted. It's not like Double or Nothing, right? But it's just like you can do a lot of gross things with Sleight of Hand. You can do a lot of gross things with it. Daring Maneuver, fast. It's a 0-cost gambit. Play when you had succeeded a skill test. You get +2 skill value for this test. Yeah, that card's fine. yeah. I mean, what do you want me to say, right? Like, it helps the Succeed by archetype do more, right? It helps you not break your lockpicks, but it kind of also just does nothing, right? Like, it also kind of just does nothing, so the card's just fine. I definitely don't regret playing this because I know the deck I want to play it in, right? Yeah. Lockpicks. This card is fantastic. This card, I'll read it. 3 cost, 1 experience. It takes up a hand slot. Uses 3 supplies. If it has no supplies, discard it. As an action, you can exhaust lockpicks, investigate. Add your foot to your skill value for this investigation. If you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1 supply from lockpicks. This was huge when rogues got this. This allowed rogues to investigate in a way that still honestly actually feels very roguey, right? Like, unless you're like Trish and you have access to Seeker shenanigans, the nice thing about lockpicks is that it still fits a very nice niche in the rogue archetype, or the rogue class, sorry, where they can investigate, but they can only investigate one at a time, right? Where, like, you can essentially get, you essentially have to only get 1 clue each turn with lockpicks. That's pretty much guaranteed, and you got to fight your way into the other ones, which I think is really nice for both color pie and class identity, but it's also really nice because rogues then have the tools to do a lot. And I see I haven't played Lockpicks 1 ever since I got the Thieves Kit and Scarlet Keys. I mean, I think that it kind of also can depend on what your deck is. I think Thieves Kit is also really good. I really like Thieves Kit. But it's one of those things where it does a lot for the deck that you want to do it, right? If you're playing Lockpicks, it gives you the Succeed by stuff, right? It's just an investigate that gives you a bunch. You succeed by a bunch. You draw 1 million. You draw the exact card you want off of your Lucky Cigarette Case 3, right? But it's one of those things where I think that it's now, as I'm now reading the chat, I actually think it's underestimated for how good this card is to the rogue class and its design. The card is very good. And I'm honestly like you gotta play it in rogues. Like, unless you're like a high foot and you can do Thieves Kit and lockpicks, like the rogues they love this kind. Like there's a card right now on the Arkham subreddit, which is the I'll Take That. And like I'll Take That is like perfect with lockpicks, right? Like it's a key part of the rogue class and design that it's just like one of those things. Like it's a fantastic card. It's played in a lot of rogue decks. It's going to keep being played in a lot of rogue decks, and rogues are going to be continually designed to work with lockpicks if they are a book investigator. So yeah, I think the card's fantastic. Alchemical Transmutation. Your flex rolls want it, but it won't make you a Kluver? What the fuck are you smoking? It does make you a Kluver. It does make you a Kluver. I've played multiple rogue decks with lockpicks, and I've been the Kluver. I don't know what's going on in chat. This card's bad. Poop to Gold is not a great time. Poop to Gold is not a great time. I'm not going to say anything else. You can just spend Charge Test Brain, and if its symbol's revealed, you take a damage. You succeed. You get a resource for every point you fail. You succeed by, to a max of 3. I don't like it. I don't want to spend time talking about it. Uncage the Soul. Yeah. I think this card's good. I don't think it's great. I think the card is a good card though. 0 cost Spirit. Play a spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. It's one of those things where it's like Ever Vigilant, but it's better than Ever Vigilant, and you can just include it, number 1, because you can't attach it to a Stick to the Plan, but number 2, because it only requires 1 card to get the value out of it, right? Like, in Ever Vigilant, without Stick to the Plan, you need a bunch of cards. With Uncage the Soul, you just need your 1 spell or ritual card, and it will get to its thing. Does 1 clue a turn make you a Kluver? If the only plan... Okay, I'll just say this. If your only plan as a rogue to get clues is lockpicks, and you're the Kluver, that's on you, not on lockpicks, right? Like, if your only plan in your deck is to play lockpicks to get clues, that's not lockpicks' fault. That's your own fault, right? Like, that's your own fault for building a bad deck, right? If you're the Kluver and you're only using lockpicks to get clues, it's your lockpicks helps you get your other tools while getting clues. Like, there's a reason why Lucky Cigarette Case 3 is so good, because of lockpicks in addition to everything else Rogue is doing. It's just that. It's just that. But yeah, Uncage the Soul, good card. I'm cutting it a lot more, though. I'm cutting it a lot more because it's not the economy that I want anymore. But if someone said this card was great, I wouldn't bat an eye. I wouldn't bat an eye. Oh no. Astral Travel. 3 cost. Spell. Move to any revealed location and reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If you reveal a skull, a cultist, a tablet, a squid, or an autofail, you must discard an item or ally as you control. If you cannot, take 1 damage. I mean, cross-board movement is very powerful, right? The cost is pretty steep. 3 resources is a lot in a Mystic class. Notably, works very well with Uncage the Soul, right? Works very well there. I honestly, though... Where would I put this one? I want to know what chat would think of this one. Because to me, it's between good and fine. But I think ultimately my gut says to put it in fine, because I never play it, and I never see it played. I never see people even talk about it. So that must mean the card in itself is fine. I don't think it's bad. Actually, when I said I meant between these two, sorry, good and fine, I meant between fine and I regret playing this. I think if I put this in my deck, I'll get a use out of it, which will actually be good. Yeah. I don't know. I just think the card's kind of there. It could be down here. But I think I've seen Bryn warp across the map with it to the point where, like, the effect was good, but sometimes he also just, like, committed it for a brain test. Like, when you don't need it, you can just commit it. But the symbols, like, aren't even great, right? The discarding an item or an ally asset also can be pretty bad unless you're playing, like, someone like David Renfield, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in fine. Spirit of Fame. 3 cost, 1 hand. It's one experience as well. And it is pretty simple. Lightning Bolt. During a skill test on the spell card, Exhaust Spirit of Fame, you get +2 skill value for this test. As an action, Exhausted, you get Fight, you get +2 Fist for this attack. Spirit of Fame is a very weird card, isn't it? Because, like, let's respect for a second that, like, the numbers on the card are really nice. Like, yeah, like, being able to get +2 on a spell card repeatedly is really nice, right? I think the bottom action, like, well, not terrible. There's a lot of mystics that aren't like there's like Dexter, Diana, Akachi could even use it pretty well, right? And you can use it to kill small things, but like the top action is like where the card is. But the problem is, it's like not great, is it? Is it good? Is Spirit of Fame a good card? If I look at it now, because like it's completely outclassed by like Sword Cane, right? Like Sword Cane is just like what takes up a lot of hand slots nowadays for mystics, most commonly, right? Is the card good though? The top effect is really nice. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I think this card's good. I think this card is good. I think Spirit of Fame is a good card. But it's just like outclassed nowadays. But I still think that doesn't make it fine, because the top action is like what people you end up using Prophetic for a lot of the time, right? Like they end up using Prophetic to just like bump up their spells a lot, or like for example that 4-cost the 4-cost mystic thing that like pumps up your brain and your book, the asset. It's one of those things where I think that like the top effect is really nice in a slot that, while competitive in Mystics now, wasn't back then, and I still think it is kind of. I think it's still good. Like if someone ran this in a deck and used it to get an Unexpected Courage for a bunch of their spells, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. Yeah, seems good. Lantern. Okay. This card's the truth. Yo. As an action, 2-cost item tool, it's a hand slot. Action, investigate. Location gets -1 shroud for this investigation. As an action, discard Lantern. Deal 1 damage to an enemy or location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So if you asked me 6 months ago what I thought about this card, I would say that this card is fine. But now, I think this card isn't great, but it's good. It's good. It bumped up a whole tier for me. Number 1, the reducing shroud is a big thing now in the survivor pool. The tested 0 is a gigantic archetype that is, in my opinion, very scary and ultimately not good for the game. But I kind of just realized that this is just a worse magnifying glass, but a worse magnifying glass is still a good card, right? Like, it's just magnifying glass. And magnifying glass is very good. Like, magnifying glass is like a great, fantastic card. So this being slightly worse than that, just because, like, the hand slot is, like, competitive, it costs a bit more, it's not fast. The damage can matter, like especially if you're like switching through your hand slots a lot. But effectively, this just being a magnifying glass makes the card, in my mind, good. Gravedigger's Shovel, however, is not. I think the card is fine. It's so 2-cost, takes up a hand slot. Fight, you get +2 Fist for this attack. Discard it. Discover 1 clue at your location. It's the one clue. A Tesla's clue is less valuable than Tesla's damage IMO. And the +2 Fist, while good, it's a good number. Not having extra damage sucks, but I mean, like, extra damage on this card would be insane. It would be absolutely nuts. But I think the card's, like, not bad. I think the card's just fine. You could like recur it, like discover a clue, scavenge it back, discover a clue, but you're honestly probably just better off. You're honestly better off just not doing that and just like scavenging like better things instead, right? Like if you compare this and like say Ice Pick, it's a world of difference. The top attack is, like I said, not terrible, but also not great. Hiding Spot. 1 cost, tactic trick, fast. Attach hiding spot to any location. Each non-elite enemy at attached location gains a loot. At the end of the enemy phase, if a ready enemy is attached location, discard hiding spot. Like, I'm sure there's tons of situations. I think I even actually recently read online some stories where this card was, like, had some really neat stuff that happened and it was, like, very advantageous. But I think overall, this is just one of those clunky red tricks that is not really bad, but not really good. It's just kind of fine. It has the 2 foot symbols, which is not nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I think the card's just fine. I don't have much to say. Oh, Resourceful. Okay, Resourceful's going to go up to Fantastic. It's probably busted, though, right? Like, the card... I mean, no, I don't think the card is exactly busted yet. But it's, like, 1 day away. Like, it's like one more just absolutely disgusting type of Survivor card away from just being, like, nuts. Like, I wish... I do think that this card should RFG itself. It's... Recursion is a scary thing. Recursion is a scary thing. And Resourceful and Scavenging are like the 2 big dangerous recursion tools. And it's one of those things where, like, cards are designed to be played once, right? Like, for example, Shed a Light. That card, the tempo that you gain from it is designed to be played once. And Resourceful now means that you can play it 4 times, right? You can play your 2 copies twice each. Even more if you have further recursion that you can somehow get Resourceful back, right? And that is not great. It's one of those things where, like, they either need to, like, put a cork in Resourceful, or they need to start designing Survivor cards as if you could play them multiple times, because I feel like they aren't, right? Like, to me, Shed a Light is still an absolutely bonkers card. It's disgusting. Like, it's not hard to get into situations. I don't think there is the Arkham Revised Core Scavenging is so good. Which one is that? Is that the one with Agnes is looking in a drawer? Or something like that? Or is that the Burglary? I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of most of the Revised Core new art. I think the only one I like is I like Mark Harrigan Overpower. And that's about it. That's about it, really. But I think that Resourceful needs to... it should remove itself from the game. It's getting scary. It's getting scary. I'll say that much right now. It's a little bit concerning. All right, we are out of the baseball the baseball art. New art is better. That I can also agree with. I do think that the new baseball bat art is a lot nicer than what we had previously. All right, Heroic Rescue. We're out of the course. We're out of the deluxe, and we're 35 minutes in. Oh boy, we got a lot to go. All right, Heroic Rescue. 1 cost event, Spirit Tactic, fast, play when a non-elite enemy would attack another investigated location, engage that enemy, resolve its attack against you, then deal it 1 damage. This card is fine. It's like, you'll know the decks where it's good, right? Like, it's fun in, let's say, Daniela Reyes. It's fun in Tank Tommy. It's fun in, like, Tank Will Yorick. There's a lot of fun places where this card can exist, but I think overall the effect is kind of just fine. Kind of just fine. It's like it's kind of like a toe-to-toe, but worse in a way, right? Yeah, I think the card's just fine. Combat training. This is the composures, so I'm only going to explain the composures generally once. Non-direct horror must be assigned to combat training before it can be assigned to your investigator card. It comes in with 1 soak. It's 1, it's fast, 1 experience, 1's all the way down. You can spend a resource to get 1 to fist, or foot. These are also kind of just fine. Most of the composures at this level are kind of just fine, right? Do I think these cards would have been better if they had, do I think these cards would have been better and also not busted if they had 1 more soak of their type? Yes, I do think they probably would have been better and more played if this was soak for 2, because it doesn't actually do anything on its own. Is it actually bad? Is this actually bad? Does it actually just do nothing? Does it actually... Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Does this actually just not do anything? It's bad, isn't it? I talked myself up to it. I was like, going through it. Then in my head, I was like, it still gave me... It still gave me the pluses, right? It still gave me the static boost. And I was like, is it really that bad if you get this? Yeah. It is. It wouldn't be that bad. And it's really bad because it doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, no, this is bad. Most of the composures, except for maybe the rogue one, are going to be down in the I regret playing this section. Yeah, I wised up. I will say, notably, I wised up before chat started saying it's bad. But because I just saw the light. I saw the light a second before the light hit me. Anatomical diagrams. Fast. Play during any investigator's turn. Play only if you have 5 or more remaining sanity. Choose a non-elite enemy or location. Until the end of the active investigator's turn, that enemy gets -2 fight and -2 evade. I don't think... I'm gonna say it. I don't think this card is unplayable anymore. I think this card has a very specific home, and that home is incredibly playable. It's only fine, because it fits the exact thing I was talking about, where you need to have other cards for it to truly be good. But this card allows you to kill things with exploit weakness. A lot of enemies are going to have 2 evade, and this just kills them, right? This is just a 2-card combo to eliminate an enemy. Shed a Light generally is a 2-card combo as well, and Anatomical Diagrams is part of the 2-card combo for exploit weakness, but I don't think it's great. I don't think it's good even. I think it's still just fine. I will say, though, I use this as Tony to have Daisy fight a conglomeration of spheres, and that was kind of fun. But it is just... the rider as well for the sanity sucks. But because this card has a home that I think it's actually like part of a good 2-card combo, I gotta respect it to Anatomical Diagrams and bump it up to fine. But I don't think it's good. And I think it's honestly, if I was rating in the tier, it would still be on the low end of fine, but we ain't doing that here. Scientific Theory. It's also bad. This is the Seeker one. It does Fist and Book. It is not great. It is not great. Knuckle Duster. I love the hell out of this card. Do I think it's good? No. I think it's fine. It's a 2-cost item, takes up a hand slot, action, fight. This attack deals +1 damage, and the attacked enemy gains Retaliate for this attack. Generally, a lot of enemies have Retaliate, so adding it on isn't that big of a deal. Pop Fenton, thank you so much for the follow. It's just... I love it. It's fun. It's one of my favorite weapons in the game. But you have to work hard to be able for it to be comparable to let's say even a machete, right? Like you have to work harder to get there than you have to do for Knuckle Duster. My Knuckle Duster Leo deck is still one of my favorite decks that I've ever played. I loved the hell out of it, but that's just me loving a card that's not great, as opposed to the card itself being good. All right, we have Moxie. So this is the rogue one, and it does brain and foot, and this one I'm actually going to put in fine. I think of the 3 composures we've seen so far, I think that this card is the most playable of them. Mostly because rogues have a lot of money, and rogues would like to have a way to pass a Frozen in Fear, right? Well, I don't think it's good. I do think that this is the composure that's probably... I mean, Plucky's another good one. Plucky also might get up there. But of the ones we've seen so far, I think that this one is the one that I would actively call, like, playable of the 3 we've seen so far. David Renfield. 2 cost, 2 soak for 2 damage soak, 1 horror soak. While he has at least 1 doom on him, you get +1 brain as an action. As a lightning bolt, exhaust him. You may place 1 doom on David Renfield, gain a resource for each doom on David Renfield. As Travis cracked the code recently for myself, David Renfield was not banned for Sin Eater. It was banned for Charlie Kane. Well, tabooed, but like effectively killed. David Renfield, obviously untabooed, is a fantastic card. I don't think he's busted because you do like end up killing him a lot of the time, but he just represents so many free resources that it's kind of like, it's kind of nuts, right? Great card. May he rest in peace. We miss you, David. We miss you. Grounded. This one is for spell cards. I think this one is also an I regret playing this. Like, Spirit of Thame asks for 3 up front, and you get +2, just like comparing them, right? For every spell you do for the rest of the game once per turn, right? This one, for 3 resources and 1 less action, you get 1 Spirit of Thame. And then you have to spend 2 more resources for every Spirit of Thame that you want out of it. Yeah. I think I'd rather play the Spirit of Thame of these 2. Cherished Keepsake. Obviously, this card is great. Let me use Grounded to boost Shriveling. Oops, a symbol token, bye-bye. You know? So what is it? Sometimes the brightest flames like burn out the quickest or something like that. Yeah, Cherished Keepsake, great card. Absolutely fantastic. Horror is more important to soak for damage for the majority of people who want to play Cherished Keepsake, and it also can allow you to scavenge very easily. It also is like really good in Will York, but I'll play this in Rita, I'll play this in Silas until the end of time. Mr. Potterson is just a great card. Very good. And then we got Plucky, which I think is also on the playable side of the composures. Brain and Book are 2 nice things to get a boost for, and Survivor also has the benefit of a lot of soak, right? So they'll kill and recur Mr. Pottersons before they have to get rid of Plucky. I still think, though, that these are pretty bad. I forgot that the level 1 didn't give stat boosts. Onyx, 10 months of the Golden Table. Thank you so much for your support. Much appreciated. Hope you're having a great Friday. Alright, the Desperate skills. They all give you 4 to a test. 1 for each icon. And you can only commit them if you have 3 or fewer remaining sanity. So, I think that these cards are bad. And I don't think that should be surprising, right? Like, yeah, there's a deck, like, you know, the whole Yodel, Desperate Duke, you can do things. But you basically need to have 8 cards in your deck to get 2 Promise of Powers, right? Like, it's like you can run 8 of these, or you can just run 2 Promise of Powers. And I think that that's a rate that I'd rather have 6 other good cards in my deck than 6 Desperate Skills. I think they're fun. I think they're flavorful, but I don't think they're particularly great. We are ranking the we're revisiting Carcosa cards 6 years later. 6 with a wobble. Trench Knife, it's bad. Trench Knife. I'd run a version of this with wild symbols instead. Hell yeah, I think so as well. Like, it would be a lot nicer. It just, like, because you have to get the right one at the right time while also having your sanity low. Like, and there's cases, like I said, with Yodel, like Desperate Duke seems like a fun time. But yeah, no. Trench Knife. Engage actions do not provoke attacks of opportunity. It's a 1 cost. Hand slot. Fight. You get +X for this attack where X is number of enemies engaged with you. That's it. That's it. That's it. I'd love to see a higher level version of this with some amount of extra damage. Yeah, honestly, yeah, I'd be down. I mean, I feel like, yeah, this would just be like, give it something that gives it like +1 damage, costs like 2 experience. Maybe 3? No, probably 2. I don't know. Maybe 3. But yeah, it needs something. Card's not great. Ambush. 2 cost, 1 experience event, tactic. Attached to your location. If there are no investigators attached to location, discard ambush. After an enemy spawns attached location, deal 2 damage to the enemy and discard ambush. I've never played this card. I've never seen this card played, so that should be a sign, right? It'd be fun in Gloria, right? Because Gloria, can she do Guardian? Yeah, right? She can do Guardian. She can do Rogue. And she can do Seeker. She can't do Survivor, right? Could be fun in Gloria. Could be fun in Nathaniel Cho. Yeah, that's some good intel. The effect is nice, right? This is basically like a level 0. What's it called? She's going like this. Disc of Idzamna, yes. You put it down, like, when you're getting to that final scenario, your Seeker played Map the Area, and you're like, alright, I know what that means. We're staying here for a while. Drop down an ambush. Yeah, you know what? I think this card's fine. I don't think it's good, but I think the card's fine. It has its homes. I think that's like the perfect example of a fine card. Even though I've never played it, I'm convinced. I'm convinced talking about it more, you know? Tesla's damage is really good. I play Disc of Idzamna. I play the level 0 Disc of Idzamna unironically now. So I should really be playing this too, because it's kind of just the same sort of thing for when you hunker down on a location, right? Obviously, I would never play this on a blind play, but like when I know like a location, right? Kind of fun if you're planning to kill Ishtaka in Untamed Wilds, huh? Hey, Ishtaka, play this right before the agenda flip or the act flip. Have her come, get 2 damage knocked on her right off the get-go. Would be needing Curtain Call too. Hell yeah, this has its uses. This has its uses, baby. I'm down for it. I'm not up to good, but I'm close. Like, I'm knocking on the door. It's knocking on the door to good, being like, hello, I was told I could come up. I'm sold. Ambush? Yeah, let's go. I'm ready. Dr. Charles Ross, Esquire, 2 cost ally. Soaks for 1 damage, 2 horror. You may spend resources to pay for item assets played by other investigators location. You can exhaust them. Reduce the cost of the next item asset played by an investigator location by 1. Notably, this doesn't go away at the end of turn, so if you haven't played an item asset, you can keep reducing the cost. This could be fun in Charlie Kane, couldn't it, with Bonnie? This actually could be pretty fun, right? Did I call him Dr. Charles Ross Esquire? That's really funny. He's not. He's just some guy. I think, though, the card is just fine. But I would love to play him in Charlie. That could be a fun deck, couldn't it? I still haven't played Charlie. I'm too scared. I'm too scared because I know I'm going to suck with my first Charlie. I'm going to just absolutely biff it. I'm just going to absolutely biff it, and it's going to be really embarrassing, and everybody's going to laugh at me. Weird and Seeker, yeah, I feel like we're missing a little bit of juice that really makes this like have a home in the Seeker class, you know? No, I know Charlie's crazy good, but he's like very much the opposite of my play style. So that's like where I know I'm going to falter, right? A lot of just fine cards in the set. Yeah, there's a lot of just fine ones here. Forewarned. Fast. Play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card. Place when it includes any location, then cancel that card's revelation effect. Yeah, this card's good. It's a good card. Do I think it's great? I personally don't. However, if someone said this card was great, I would agree. I would be like, yeah, you know what? You're right. However, I'm not too scared. As I said previously with Let Me Handle This. I'm not too scared of the Mythos deck, especially as a Seeker, right? Like, what do? You draw, what treachery are you scared of? Like, only, like, False Lead, right? It does go up in value because of all the clue dropping stuff. I think in the clue dropping deck, this card becomes great, if not even fantastic. But I think on its own, it's still just a good card, but not great or fantastic outside of the archetype where it can really excel in. However, obviously, within that archetype, it goes way up in value. Dario Elamine. 4 cost, soaks for 2 and 2. While you have 10 or more resources, you get +1 brain and +1 book. If there are no enemies at your location, exhaust Dario, you gain 2 resources. Yo, this guy is the truth with Stylish Coat. I'm now like a big believer in Dario if you're running Stylish Coat. Oh, it's just basically, he gives you a free not unexpected courage. I've been saying that so much. A free emergency cash, like every turn, which is really good for big money decks. However, Dario isn't that good on his own. As Brent says, do you want to play 14 for a 1/1 boost? Because that's really what like Dario comes down to. I dropped my pen that I'm flicking in my hands. But I don't think, like, I don't regret playing him. I think now he definitely, like, I think he has a home that at this point now he's been, like, kicked out of, just due to, like, his past being not great, right? But I do think that people should try him in more big money decks, especially if you're planning on playing Stylish Coat, play Dario, right? And I do think he's outclassed by, like, the upgrades, right? Like, Lola, Delilah, Janae, they're all much better than Dario, right? But if you're, like, with Stylish Coat, like, don't knock an emergency cash every turn. Like, that is a very powerful effect. Yeah. I don't think he's bad, but he's definitely not great, and he needs a lot of work to like get to where he is, you know? That's sneak cash without having to draw it. I think that's big. Hell yeah. Upgraded Sneak Attack. Deal 2 damage to an enemy deal 2 damage to an enemy not engaged with your location. 2 cost, 2 experience. This card's great. Dude, you just play this. You can just play this in Rogues. And you'll kill enemies with it. Like, I understand why you don't, because the Rogue card pool in particular is really good. But 2 testless damage for 2, and the enemy just needs to be, like, sitting there. You know, like, your Seeker's holding them, and they're like, help, I'm in danger. And then you just go, so, and kill them, you know? Great card. Autofill token, how's it going? Good. Just big thumbs up for Sneak Attack 2. Bye aloof enemies too. Hell yeah, kill any aloof enemy. Just get the frick out of here. Good call. I love Sneak Attack. I love Sneak Attack 0, I love Sneak Attack 2, but Sneak Attack 2 is just legitimately just a great card. Storm of Spirits. So fight. This attack uses brain instead of fist. If you succeed, instead of standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy or location. Excuse me. If you revealed a bad token, you deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location. Card is good. Storm of Spirits is a good card. It definitely has its uses where it's like its campaigns where it's better. Like obviously Dream Eaters, and then the next campaign when we have swarming enemies, it's going to go way up in value again. But even then, just like as a one-of, this is a really nice one-of in a lot of Mystic decks. Especially if you're running down the rabbit hole and you have the upgraded version, or if you're running Arcane Research and you have the upgraded version. This is a very comfy one-of in your deck that you can then upgrade into the better version. And the card can just like come in super clutch at a time. Card's great. Sorry, card's good, but it can be great. Book of Shadows. I always forget this card exists. 3 cost, 1 experience. Exhaust Book of Shadows and spend a resource. Add 1 charge to a spell as you control. Whew. Don't think it's good, right? Don't think the card's good? I don't even think the card's fine. I think the card is pretty poopy. Yeah, 4 resources is a lot for 1 charge. It asks a lot up front. Cute and Daisy with archaic glyphs. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's very fair. That's very fair. I mean, you just play Twyla, right? I think this card is just outclassed by other things in the pool. Yeah, I can see the cases where like it lives in fine, but even then, it's not. There's not like the cases where it lives in fine is not powerful enough to make it even live in fine on its own. You know, it's like its peak is like fine. You know, its peak is like fine. Fight or Flight. Fast. Play only during your turn until the end of the round. You get plus X fist and plus X foot, where X is the amount of horror on you. Yeah, card's fine. Not bad, not great. Sorry, not bad, not good. The card's just here. I can see the cases where you'll run it. I actually kind of like it in Tony Morgan, right? Just get turned into God mode for a turn. But otherwise it's just there. A Test of Will. 1 cost, 1 experience, fast. Play when an investigator location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect and exile a Test of Will. Yeah, man, card's good. But yeah, these are all the Carcosa cards. Card's good. I was actually just talking about this yesterday in a video I was recording. It all blurs together, man. I talk about this game so much. But it's one of those things where it's such a well-made cycle of cards, these Test of Wills, because this one, it like works on anybody, right? But it exiles. It's a great card. I'm gonna put it up to great. I think this one's actually great. I think it's like some really nice Mythos deck protection. I love the hell out of a Test of Will. And it's such a well-designed cycle of cards. And like this one is my personal sweet spot. I like this one a lot. And it's a juicy card in a juicy cycle of cards. And it's great. It's better than good. It's great. I convinced myself. Devil's Luck. That's funny, Dice Gods. Fast. Play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 10 damage and or horror just dealt to you and exile Devil's Luck. 1 cost, 1 experience. I mean, honestly, the effect is good, right? You run it as a one-of and just, like, don't die. It's, to me, though, that I think, like, the problem is that the problem with Devil's Luck is not because of it. It's because of the Survivor card pool, right? Like, this card basically reads as a damage deny existence level 0 that a Survivor needs to pay for. Perseverance is 0 XP. Perseverance is 0 XP. But Perseverance only stops you when you're dying. Which you might say that dying is all that matters, right? But at the same time, it also isn't. I think, here's the thing, right? I think the thing about this... I mean, I'm not going to follow that logic, T. Curtisil, because that's the reason why people play Deny Existence, right? People play Deny Existence to not lose, and it helps them win, right? It allows them to take risks or play close to the chest, and I think Devil's Luck also does that, right? I think the problem with Devil's Luck lives in the exact same spot that one event has. The one Guardian event, where it can stop like up to 4 damage, right? I think people get stuck on the Devil's Luck of canceling 10 damage. It's like the canceling 10 damage, and they think that if they don't cancel 10, they've wasted the card. But if this card stops 4, right, that's better than like most things, right? I mean, all this is for me to just say the card is fine. Like, all this is for me to just say the card is fine. But I do think that the card is even close to good, right? Holding this to 4 damage is pretty situational in its own right. But you also don't need to hold it for 4, right? Like, say you take 1 and 1 and you just don't want to take the damage. You can just exile it, right? It's one of those things where I think that this card... I think that, once again, I think everyone in chat is kind of out in the field for this card. They're looking at the 10, right? Like, if you paid one cost, 1 experience, and you just, like, stopped yourself from taking 3 damage in horror, right? Like, just stop a Rotting Remains. Like, this is basically a test of will for Rotting Remains, right? Like, a Test of Will and Devil's Luck are the exact same card for Rotting Remains, right? Like, let's be real, you know? They're the exact same card for Rotting Remains. And, like, it's one of those things where, obviously, being able to stop Ancient Evils that everyone's still scared of for some reason in this game, makes Test of Will better, of course, right? Like, I'm not going to say that at all, right? But if you Test of Will... if you Test of Will a Rotting Remains, your Devil's Luck would have done the exact same thing. If you're scared about taking damage, if you're scared about other cards in the Mythos cards, it's just one of those things where, like, I think that, like, the ceiling on this card is like, this card sucks for 2 reasons. One is the ceiling of the card people get stuck in, right? They see this card, and they think, oh, I need to stop 10, otherwise the card is useless, right? And the other thing is that what's problem for Devil's Luck is that Survivor just has better tools to manage this, right? Yeah. I think people are stuck on... I mean, if you're going to play Perseverance in your deck, you could probably play Devil's Luck as well. I would upgrade it. I would eventually, like, upgrade into Devil's Lucks over my Perseverances in the long term. Because you can just be more... Perseverance is like a passive card, and Devil's Luck allows you to be more reactive with it. But once again, this is all just put into fine. I'm just musing on the card because, like, I myself am even processing it right now. That I think this card is is better than I give it credit for, but still bad for the reasons listed. Calling in Favors. Yeah, card's great, man. Calling in Favors is a great card. So, 1 cost, choose an ally asset you control, and return it to your hand. Then search the top 9 cards of your deck for an ally asset and play it, reducing its cost by X, where X is the cost of the ally asset returned to your hand. It's a good card. Like, it's great. Obviously, like, you're only going to play it in decks with a lot of allies, but it's, like, very good in those ones. It's very good in those ones. Great card. I'll see you in hell. 0 cost event. Spirit. Each non-alien enemy engaged with you is defeated. You are defeated and suffer 1 physical trauma. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Oh, man. Can I be real? I hate these cards. I hate them. I don't think, like, in my opinion, if you put this card in your deck, you're basically being like, nah, we're gonna lose. we can't handle enemies, right? Like, if you put this card in your deck, you're basically saying, nah, we suck. We're not gonna manage, right? Like, we're not gonna be able to beat these enemies, and we're gonna lose. So we might as well just, like, lose with, like, we might as well just kill the enemies and take them with us. Our plan is to get defeated, right? But yeah, 100% great flavor card. But, like, for me personally, I can never really dig this card. It's a Kelvin card. I'm going to counter that. And I think that purposely trying to get trauma in Kelvin is a mistake. Kelvin does not want to get trauma. Kelvin does not want trauma. I think playing this card in Kelvin is an actual mistake, because the more trauma that you purposely try to gain, or like to get defeated to gain trauma in Kelvin, the sooner you're going to get defeated. My Kelvin that I had the most fun with and actually, like, won a campaign with, I had, I think, like, 3 trauma on me at the end of the campaign. And, like, that's juicy. Like, that's where you want to be, right? So don't try to bomb your Kelvin. Kelvin can be a good investigator if you're not trying to just kill yourself, you know? Don't do that as Kelvin. Don't do that. This is my Kelvin PSA. I would definitely regret playing this card, though. I would definitely regret playing it. Upgraded 45 automatic. 4 cost, 2 experience. Spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +2 fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. Ignore the retaliate keyword for this attack. Yeah, it's good. It's a weapon. It shoots. It's a good weapon. Good upgrade. Good. You finally learn to not stand right next to the enemy when firing the gun. You're like, wait a minute. If I stand back here and shoot, the enemy can't hurt me. Yeah, it's good. Logical reasoning. Play only if you have at least 1 clue. Choose an investigate location. That investigator either heals 2 horror or discards a terror card from their threat area. Yeah, card is also just, like, good, I think. I think that it's not so much for the healing. Like, if you are a seeker and there is a rogue in your team, this is probably worth running, right? I think that this is just, it's a good card. Like, the removing of Frozen in Fear, which is what this card actually says, I think is pretty... I think this card is pretty good for removing that. What's this comment that someone said? Alright. Oh, the upgraded archaic glyphs. Okay. You can only include this asset if you upgraded it. Spend 3 charges, investigate. For every 2 points you succeed by, discover 1 additional clue. Your location. The other one is investigate. If you succeed, may automatically evade an engaged enemy. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Okay. I mean, I think obviously this one is great. The upgraded version. Is it fantastic? No. I mean, like, in certain decks, hell yeah, right? Like, in certain decks, it can be very good. Like, it can be, like, just absolutely disgusting. But I think overall, card's great. The evade one, I mean, I don't think the effect is bad. I think in solo, it's really nice, right? Like, in solo, this is a really nice tool to be able to get. Where do we put it? If you succeed, may automatically evade an engaged enemy. It's not provoke attack. I mean, I think that's just a good effect, right? I don't think it's great, but I think it's good. Yeah. I think we're going to run like that. Solo secret, you're braver than I am. No, that's my secret. I would never play solo. I would never. I can't. I couldn't, and I wouldn't, and I won't, and I shan't. I just don't like solo. No, thank you. They don't even design for it anymore, in my opinion. They might have even said they don't design for it anymore. It might not even be my opinion. Yeah. All right. Pocket Sand, otherwise known as Cheap Shot. 2 action, fight. Add your foot value to your skill value for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, automatically evade the attacked enemy. This card's awkward, isn't it? It just costs a bit too much, right? It just costs a bit too much. Because, like, the text itself is very good, but I just feel like the cost, you know? The cost is just... Ugh. If this cost 1, I'd run it, like, all the time. But 2? 2's a lot. 1, I would play this all the time. Like, I would put it in pretty much every rogue deck which did not have, like, 2 Fist, you know? But overall, I think the card's just fine. There are a lot of fine cards here, huh? There are a lot of fine cards in Carcosa. Well, we still got a good chunk left to go. Let's go to a Dirty Fighting deck? Probably. Still costs so much. 2 is a lot for this effect. 2 is a lot. Two is just a lot of money for that effect. The nice thing about 1-cost cards, this should be kind of obvious, is that you can play them immediately, right? You just always have it online. Doubling that means you sometimes have to be like, okay, I'm going to take a resource action, right? Yeah. If this was 1, though, I'd play it all the time. But obviously, yeah, like Dirty Fighting, Rita, really good. Chuck Fergus, obviously, as well. Like, there's a lot of homes for it, the chat said, that I think the card excels in, which is why it lives in fine. Pickpocketing 2. 2 cost, talent, illicit, fast. After you evade an enemy, exhaust pickpocketing, draw 1 card, or gain a resource. If you succeed by 2 or more, do both instead. Yeah, card is... good? I don't think it's great, but the card is good. It's one of those things where, like, in the right deck, like in Finn Edwards, it's really good, right? Keimani, really good. But I think generally, most other investigators don't want to look at this card as where they want to be evading. Like evading kind of sucks. Like, I'm gonna be real. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Evading kind of sucks. If I had I had a realization where I really wish from the start of the game they did like the slip away disguise super evade, and I think evade would be more playable from the beginning if that was the case. If more evasion effects had super evade lived like kind of like built in, I think evade would be in a much healthier spot than it is in right now. Because the reality is that most of the time, like, a lot of the time when it comes to evasion, it's like you're just kicking the can down the road, right? And the can will come back with teeth and claws in this game, right? So, like, if you had, like, an extra turn to set up because you super evaded the enemy and it did not ready during the next upkeep phase, assuming it was, like, non-elite, right? That's a nice effect that evasion should have had built into it. I don't know, evasion is great to turn off retaliate. Why in 2023 Arkham are you scared of retaliate, though, right? Like, unless you're playing bad investigators that can be retaliated on, yes, then I can see it, right? But I'm not, like, looking at this card in the vacuum of being like, oh, I'm glad that I can, you know, like evade to solve this problem so my Amina Zidane doesn't get retaliated against, right? That's not how I personally evaluate this game, right? Because like I already know that Amina Zidane and Jenny Barnes and Lola Hayes are gonna have issues, right? Like that's just like built in natively due to their due to the way that their investigators themselves are built. From a mechanical standpoint, though, I feel like evasion needs more than just that, right? I think that in like where decks where you are going to be evading a lot and evading is your game plan, pickpocketing is really, really nice, though. But I think overall, though, the card is just good. I don't think it's great. Because it doesn't solve problems. And I end up now, for me personally, at least cutting pickpocketing more often. I just wish that evasion had more juice to it from a design standpoint, because I feel like it's lacking. However, I do feel like, from the vibes I've been getting with the player cards coming out, that this super evade might become more common, if not the norm, which is really nice. But I just wish it was there from the beginning, in a way. Like, could you imagine if, like, the level 2 Mists of Rilla, or sorry, the 2 cost level 0 Mists of Rilla, it just, instead of the moving, it tapped the guy down for an extra turn? That would be a really playable spell, right? Like, if you look at what Disguise is, and you just turn that into the Mystic Spells thing, that's nice, right? Like, that's nice. That's a good, healthy change to the evade mechanic that it doesn't really have the juice for right now. Yeah. Quantum Flux. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck and draw 1 card and move Quantum Flux from the game. So if you asked me this like 4 or 5 years ago, I would say this card was poopy bad, poo-poo caca. But I think it's actually pretty playable now. I think that there's definitely reasons why you would want to play Quantum Flux. And one of those reasons is that, you know, you haven't seen your weakness yet, and you just want to shuffle it. If you're Patrice Hathaway, obviously also this card is really nice. If you're Safina Rousseau, this card is also really nice. If you're just investigators that don't want to draw your weakness and you can run it, it's also, like, not bad. I'm going to give this card, I'm going above a fine. I'm going to give this card an actual good. It has its reasons for being run. And you also don't need to do that much to, like, want to warrant that reason. It doesn't do much else with, like, other things, which is why, like, I'm not putting it in fine. Like, it doesn't get exponentially better. But if you want this kind of effect to mitigate drawing your weakness and stuff like this, it's a good card. Recharge. Choose a spell or relic asset controlled by an investigator location. Reveal a random chaos token from the chaos bag. If you reveal a bad token, discard the chosen asset. Otherwise, add 3 charges to the chosen asset. Card's not great, right? Like, if you have a full collection, why would you play this card when Uncage the Soul 3 exists, right? Yeah. I'm going to put this down in the I regret playing this, because more often than not, I regret playing this. It's not great. No. No, thank you. Okay. Has the astral travel problem. If I don't pull a symbol token, I'm fine, but if I do, I have no plan. Amen. Madame Lebranche. 2 cost, 2 soak. As a lightning bolt, if you have no cards in your hand, exhaust Madame Lebranche, draw 1 card. If you have no resources, exhaust her to gain 1 resource. Madame Lebranche is a good card. I don't think she's great, because she kind of just, like, does nothing. Most of the time, you're gonna be playing her to just, like, passively maybe get a card or a resource. Obviously, in Dark Horse deck, her value goes up, but obviously, I think Dark Horse decks aren't that great, and they don't scale that well with the campaign, right? But she is fantastic soak, right? 2 for a 2/2 soak is really nice. I like Manon. She is good candidate for good. I agree. Hell yeah. Snare Trap. Oh no. Maybe this one's good. Every time I see one of these damn Survivor cards, I'm like, maybe it's not as bad as I remember. So I'm just taking a moment to center myself, and then I'm going to read the card with an open mind. I'm going to forget that maybe this is just one of the bad Survivor Trap cards. We're just going to breathe, and we're going to just take a second. All right, this card is good. It's your first time seeing it, Justin. Let's go. Attach location, limit 1 per location. Forced. After non-elite enemy enters attached location, exhaust that enemy, disengage from all investigators, and attach Snare Trap to it. When attached enemy would ready, instead discard Snare Trap. This costs 2 and 2, huh? 2 experience and 2 cost. It's a bolus, only it's a log. I would regret playing this in a heartbeat. No thank you. No thank you. No thank you. No thanks. No, we're good. It's, best case scenario, something like the Deep One Bull. Yeah. Yeah. No thanks. I wouldn't play this. I don't want to play this. I hate that I have to play this in 2023. Because I had to play all the cards, and I'll have to play this one. But who knows? Maybe I'll be swayed. But I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. Alright, Inspiring Presence. If this skill test is successful, ready an ally asset your location and heal 1 damage or 1 horror from it. Alright. Let's go. We're talking. Now we're talking. This card is great. This is a great card. It helps you progress the game while also passively just giving you more uses of Beat Cop, Guard Dog, Greta Wagner. There's just a lot of juicy stuff that Inspiring Presence can do, and it has like 3 awesome symbols on it. For Field Agent now too. Yeah, Field Agent now too. Yep. Like this in Duke. Hell yeah. Like, I like this if you're fucking Silas and you're playing Jacob Morrison, right? Like, there's so many good use cases where readying an ally. David Renfield, baby. Let's go. He's back. Yeah, great card. Great card. Good job, Inspiring Presence. You're great. I put you in a lot of my decks still to this day. Mono a Mono. Play only as your first action. Deal 1 damage to enemy engaged with you. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. 0 cost, 1 experience. So obviously in Nathaniel Cho, this card is like great, you know? Because it's just 2 damage, right? You draw an enemy, you deal 2 damage, you kill the enemy, you replace the card in your hand. Nathaniel Cho, this card is great. Other people, I mean, I think this one's just fine. The upgraded version is like level 2 is like really nice. You know, like 2 damage is a lot better than 1 damage. However, in a lot of Guardians, it's just not worth it anymore, you know? It's just like definitely not worth it because like you're going to be able to do more with your damage. However, like I can see you running this in Carson, you know, Kill a Rat. It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a Vicious Blow that costs an action, you know? You can take it in Gloria, which isn't good, but the imagery is fantastic. That is also great. I think what's going to keep it out of this dumpster tier for me is that it deals Tessless damage, and Tessless damage is a very tough thing for me to just always say no to, right? Like, I know this I'll See You in Hell is like Tessless damage, but it kills you, so that's what I'm saying no to before you say anything. First Aid 3. 2 cost. Uses 4 supplies. If First Aid has no supplies, discard it. As an action, spend a supply. Heal 1 damage and 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset to your location. Yeah, I mean, this is good healing, right? Like, this healing's pretty good, right? It's expensive, but it is good healing. Really good. Wish it were 2 XP. Yeah, but they don't want Yorick to get this. They don't want Yorick. They don't want Yorick to take this. Oh. Just Yorick continues to live on the never die train. Yeah, good healing though. It's good healing. Not great healing though, just good. Eureka! Eureka! I think this card is also great. The tricolor skills, or sorry, the tri-symbol skills from Carcosa are really nice. What I like about Eureka is that it lets you progress the game while playing half of a No Stone Unturned. I said this earlier back at the start of the video, which was almost like an hour and a half ago at this point. But I really like Eureka. Just turning this card into the best of your 3 cards while also getting a clue. It's very nice. It's very nice. Also, like, good for, like, brain, too. You know, like, Norman Withers would love the hell out of this card. Eureka's great. I think I personally still run it too long in my deck. Like, it goes into scenario 8, and that's just a me thing because I love skill cards. However, with that said, I do think that if you look at Eureka as basically being like, I'm gonna during an investigate, draw one of the top 3 cards, like the best of the top 3 cards of your deck. Eureka's value is like, it's like, that's a good way to look at it, you know? Shortcut 2. Fast. Play only during your turn. Attach location. Attach location gains as a lightning bolt exhaust shortcut move to a connecting location. Yeah, card's good. Card's good. It's one of those things where, like, it goes up in value to, like, great and, like, fantastic when you know the campaign, right? But it's one of those things that generally you're not going to include it, but the effect is very nice. Do I think that generally I'm going to want Shortcut 0 more than I want Shortcut 2? Yes, I would say, like, just in a general vacuum, I want Shortcut 0 more than I want this one. However, I've recently played Shortcut, and exactly as Dice Gods is saying in chat, with central locations. Like, for example, some slight spoilers. In the last scenario in Dunwich, there's a location in the Return to where there's a big scary enemy. And I attached Shortcut to it, and you just moved out of it without getting attacked. You didn't have to pay the tax fee or whatever it was. It was something like that happened. I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. Good card, though. Yeah, it's good. Hey, Travis, watch this. You know what? I'm tired of pretending. This card is also just fucking great. This card is also just great. I wish it had a book symbol, mind you. But this card shoots up in value recently because it has a foot symbol, which you can use with Thieves' Kit. I think this card is also great. Great card. I love gambling. Like, maybe it was more of a meme back in the day, but it's a great card. It's a great. Let's put behind the rest of those skills. Nah. I'm not ordering within each tier. It's weird it has brain instead of book, but I guess it's in Safina's box. Yes, that is true. Yeah. It's definitely like to help with Safina, but great card. Like, this is just gives you 6 resources. That's incredible. And it with Thieves' Kit, oh boy. Yeah. Too easy to proc with lockpicks if it had a book. Agreed. I'm glad. Like, I wish it does, but I'm glad it doesn't. You know, I wish it does, but I'm glad it doesn't. Upgraded Derringer, 41 Derringer, 3 cost, 2 experience. Use 3 ammo, spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +2 fists for this attack. If you succeed by 1 or more, this attack deals +1 damage. Once per turn, if you succeed by 3 or more, you may take an additional action this turn. What did I put the other weapons? 45 on. I think it's still just a good weapon. It's not a great weapon. It's just a good weapon. Man, the weapons were really... Who did we have in this one? What was Mark? Sexy Mark Harrigan? Oh, Mark, they didn't have much to work with. You're just giving them the machete when you just got this one, huh? Miles ahead of the level 0. Agreed. Agreed. This one was really fun in the Tony deck that I played at the Patreon Game Day, where it's about trying to take as many actions in your opponent's turns as possible. But yeah, the Darren, it's good. It's not great, though. It's not great. It's good, though. It's good. Good weapon. Torrent of Power. Additional cost to commit Torrent of Power to a skill test. Spend up to 3 charges from among assets you control. For each charge spent this way, Torrent of Power gains Wild and a Brain. Card is fine. Most of the time, you want to use your charges. You know? Like, most of the time, you want to use your charges to, you know, cast your spells. Right? If you have an asset that you're just going to use your charges for this, you might as well just put 4 different cards into your deck. However, I do see what D-Scar Pack is saying in chat, where pretty good with Runic Axe. Yes, I could have, yeah, that definitely seems like the truth. And I think that's like a perfect fine card then, you know, like it has like some good synergies where it's like gets really nice with it. The problem is, excuse me. The problem is, unless it's a card like Promise of Power, it's hard to like run a skill now that doesn't do anything other than pass you the test, right? That's kind of like the biggest downside with a lot of skills. You want to be able to like do something with your skill that furthers your game plan. Like these, you know, the Triforce with the 4th guy here who's like, hey, I'm here too. And like passing tests is good, but like from skill cards now, you can definitely be pickier with them. But I do like that with Runic Axe. That is some hot tech. Scrying 3. 1 cost, 3 experience, uses 3 charges. Exhaust Scrying and spend 1 charge. Look at the top 3 cards of any investigator's deck or the encounter deck. Return them to the top of the deck in any order. If a Terror or Omen card is among the look cards, take 1 horror. So, generally, who cares about this effect, right? Like, returning them to the top in any order is nice. It is nice. But generally, like, who cares? Gloria cares. Gloria, I mean, obviously this card's better in Gloria, right? Like, this card's, like, is, like, super good in Gloria. You know, just more Gloria. More Gloria, more now, right? But, I don't really want this effect. It is a super cheap charge card. Works really well with Torrent of Power. I think it's just fine, though. But I think, obviously, with Gloria, shoots way up in value. Wonder why I got printed. We're printed in the revised core. Man, don't get me started on some of their choices. I think they had some winners and then some stinkers. They had some stinkers in there. I still think they should have just put... They should have put Rite of Seeking 0. Because I know Rite of Seeking, like, 2 is in there, right? They should have put 0 and 2 in the deck. In the revised core. And then they could stop fucking printing Mystic, Evade, and Fight spells in each expansion. Actually, like, just let, like, Mystics have cards. Like, why does, like, 6 to 9 of, like, each expansion's Mystic cards need to be eaten? Oh, because they don't have Clued cards in their core set. And they could have changed that. They could have fixed it. They could have, but they didn't, unfortunately. Anyways, let's go to Waylay. 3 cost. Choose an exhausted non-elite enemy at your location and test foot 3. X of the enemy, where X of the enemy's evade value. If you succeed, defeat that enemy. This card's good. Good card. I suppose more like we want purple to have tinkering with encounter decks as one of their things, and they included scrying 3. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like can get the logic, but I do think for the long-term design space of the game, it probably would have been better if they also included a level 0 Rite of Seeking as well. I'm just tired of Mystic sucks, man. I hate them. I hate them so much. I'm so mad at Mystics now. Generally, I'm very much like with my card games. I'm happy to play anything, but I'm like really tired of the Mystic pool and design space. It's just awful. It's just awful. Anyway, great card. Good card. Good card. Good card, Waylay. We love to see it. I love Travis doing the doing this with the one serpent in the one serpent in why am I blanking? Forgotten Age. It's right there in the box, where they has a victory and it gets stronger. It's a great card. It's fun, good times. A chance encounter. Choose an ally asset with printed cost resource X or choose an ally asset with printed cost X in any player's discard pile and put that asset into play under your control. This card is interesting, isn't it? Isn't this an interesting card? I think I'm gonna trust my gut with this one. Okay, I'm trusting my gut. I think this card's great. I think this card is generally not played because most of the time players will run one ally, right? They'll run one ally and that ally like lives forever. However, if you're planning on like going through your allies, this is basically just another copy of your allies that you want to play. And I think that is a great effect. I think that's very strong. Obviously, it also works well with stuff like Summon Hound. It's, just... Oh, there's a lot of use cases for where it becomes, like, really kind of funky. You can do some cool things. It's one of those things where it's... I think it's a great card. I think it's great. This might also be because of a stand-in fight in Lord of the Rings, where allies are even more important. But it is good here, too. Alright, we got Emergency Cache 3. Gain 4 resources or place 4 supply tokens among assets controlled by investigators at your location, or any combination thereof. Yo! Card's great. Card's great, yo. 4 resources when you need it. Or just, like, load up, as D. Scarpack was trying to do, a fingerprint kit. For 0. Like, 4 uses is a lot. Like, 4 supply tokens is a lot. And there's a lot of good things that you can put supplies on. I think the card's great. I think all 3 emergency caches are great cards for very different reasons. Level 0 because it's level 0. The level 2 one because it replaces itself. Level 3 because it gives you a lot of juice. They're all great cards. They're all great. On the Hunt. Fast. Play when you would draw an encounter card during the Mythos phase. Instead, search the top 9 cards for a deck, spawn and engage with you, and shuffle the encounter deck if you cannot draw the top card of the encounter deck. So, fun fact about this card. I'm the worst at playing it because I'm so not worried about the encounter deck. I often forget it's there. I'm just like, yeah, give it to me. I don't care. It's not going to affect me. Have a good shift, Tyler. Bye. But it's a good card. Like, it's good. The effect is really nice. It just don't be like me and like don't play it. If this card is in your deck, play it. The effect is good. The effect is good. Stick to the plan. This is a permanent exceptional, 3 cost, so 6 experience. Before the game begins, you get to draw your before you draw your opening hand. Rather, you switch your deck from the 3 different tactic and or supply events. Attach them. You can play 1 a turn. Essentially, you have to exhaust. Stick to the plan. Card is like fantastic. Card's incredible, right? Just basically getting the 3 cards that you want to always have in your opening hand is worth 6 experience. And then, of course, going back to what we talked about earlier with Ever Vigilant, which is in the good section, it shoots this card to its level. Fantastic card. Probably one of, if not the best cards in the cycle in terms of like what it did for consistency and for players, you know? Great card. Guidance. Choose another investigator location who has yet to take his or her turn this round. The investigator may take an additional action during his or her turn this round. 0 cost event. I think before Carson, I put this in the regret, but now that Carson's here, Guidance has a home that's really comfortable. Also, Parallel Roland. It's a very fun home for Guidance. You know, you can use your 1 directive to play it fast. And I think the card is now fine. I think generally you want to assume that everybody's actions are equal. And as a Seeker, you want to assume that your actions are more equal than other people's actions. And I think that this has a lot of nice homes that in those cases where your actions aren't more valuable in the terms of Carson, or you can make it faster, you know? Great card. Great card in like Carson, otherwise just kind of fine. Arcane Insight. 3 cost, 4 experience, spell. Uses 3 charges. While an investigator is taking his or her turn, spend 1 charge. Your investigator gets -2 shroud until the end of this turn. I'm very excited. My hope is that we are going to be playing when we do our rerun of Scarlet Keys. I'm doing an Arcane Insight Min. I'm very excited to try that deck out. Min and Shadowlight, Min and just the concealed mechanic in general with this card seems really good. However, I think the card's good. I don't think it's great, but I think it's better than fine. I think that like it's just a bit expensive on the experience side. If this was 3 experience, man, I think people would play this card a lot. Like this gives you 9 uses of a flashlight, right? This is actually so. Generally, like, I think that, like, people are scared of the Seeker Rogue, the 05 Seeker 02 Rogue. I generally, in my opinion, think the 05 Rogue 02 Seeker is scary. I think Trish has a very scary card pool. But if there's one card that I think is going to just, like, absolutely bust that investigator open, it'll be Arcane Insight on the 0502 Seeker Rogue. Who will be able to take like 4 or 5 or 6 actions with Arcane Insight active. Doesn't that seem like a pretty spicy time? Woo! That seems really spicy. And I think this card is going to shoot up in value if that does end up happening to be true. Oh, I can see the bottom of the list. We're almost done. Narrow Escape. 0 cost, Fortune. Maybe Monterey Jack can try that now. You know what? Monterey Jack would be a good place to try it with. I think the only problem with Monterey Jack is that his ability would like counteract it a little bit because you do want to aim to move. But even then, I still think if you can like free move out of it after getting all the clues, that seems like a fun time, doesn't it? That seems pretty fun. You know, maybe it's worth trying in Monterey Jack. But I think like the power will come from that you also have all like no limit to the number. I'll just go back here for a second. No limit to the number of 0 Seekers you have, you know? I'm excited. I'm excited for the Seeker Rogue, you know? Get excited for the Secret Rogue. Alright, Narrow Escape. Fast play when an enemy makes attack of opportunity against you. Cancel that attack. You get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this turn. Yeah, card's fine. It has a lot of great synergy. I think it works really well, obviously, with like the 41 Derringer. Like, you can play the 41 Derringer. Oh, no, you actually can't do that. Assuming this is already... You just draw a card. Who cares? I don't care what you do with your action you're getting attacked with. But then you can shoot the gun. But I think overall the effect is kind of just fine. It's just kind of there, you know. Suggestion. Level 4. Uses 3 charges. As an action, exhaust, suggestion, evade. Add your brain value to your skill value for this evasion attempt. If you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1 charge from suggestion. When an alien enemy would attack you, spend 1 charge, cancel that attack. So I think the problem with suggestion, there's 2 problems with suggestion. Number 1, there's really not an investigator that wants to use it. Keimani is probably like... Keimani and Safina are like the investigators that want to get the juice with this card, right? The other problem is that like the level 1 version is kind of just what you need, right? Like you don't need this expensive level 4 version. Akachi maybe. Yeah, Akachi, yeah, definitely Akachi. He also has the extra charge. But I think like Akachi is still fine with the it's just too expensive, man. This is a very expensive card for an effect that, going back to what I said about evasion, is not really worth it for experience. But I do think that the level 1 version I think is a nice card. This one's just fine though, because it's rotted a bit by its experience cost. It's just a bit taken down by that. IMO. St. Hubert's Key. 4 cost. It's expensive. You get +1 brain, +1 book, and -2 sanity when you would be defeated by horror. Discard St. Hubert's Key, immediately heal 2 horror. So this card's great, right? Like, it's expensive, but like it does so much. Or is it just good? Is it good or is it great, chat? What do you think? Because my gut says great. But when my... But when I think about it more, it has that weird problem where like the brain and book go up. But like, and everyone you're playing this in, which is like Norman Withers, Grandma, it's Luke Robinson. Let's trust the gut. The gut, I don't think the gut has been wrong for any of these, except for maybe Ambush, where I wanted to put it lower, but the card actually seemed kind of poggy. I'm going to put it in great. Going to trust the gut. Good job, gut. You did it. Yeah, just simply get more money. Time Roller, how's it going? Ward of Protection 2. Fast play when investigator at any location draws a non-weakness counter card, cancel the card's revelation effect, then take 1 horror. Would it kill them to have put non-peril on this? I wish they did. Or just reminder text that be like, hey, you can't use this on peril cards. Do I think that the game would be better if reminder text like that existed? Yes. Does it change the value of the card? No, because it still works that way, just that's no reminder text. However, with that said, card is obviously great. Is it fantastic? Yeah, I think it is. There's a lot of juice that this card can stop. I honestly don't think that juice is Ancient Evils. I think that juice is more like Frozen in Fears, right? And just that you don't need to like be in the right place at the right time. You just pay a horror, right? Fantastic card. Still played to this day. I'm dying. I'm dying. Yep, great card. Fantastic even. Maybe it doesn't feel fantastic for you anymore since you're not feeling counter cards. Yes, that's exactly why I put it in great, but then I took a second and I realized that no, still stopping like a Frozen in Fear is just a very good thing. Arcane Initiate's 3, so 0 cost, 3 experience, 1 meat soak, 3 horror soak. After it enters play, place 1 doom or 2 horror on it. Exhaust Arcane Initiate, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell, and draw it. Shuffle your deck. So where would I put level 0 Arcane Initiate? Probably in great, right? Arcane Initiate's a great card. I don't think, honestly, this one is that much better or that much worse than level 0 Arcane Initiate. It's definitely not better, but I don't think it's worse, right? The nice thing about this one is that it's if you're wanting to upgrade it, just play fucking Down the Rabbit Hole. The other thing is that it's one of those things where not having to like worry about the doom, I think, is really nice. But most of the time at the level 0, you also generally don't worry about the doom. 3 experience is a lot. 3 experience is a lot. I was between... Is it a whole tier below the level 0? Because Arcane Initiate 0 is definitely a great card in my gut. Is this one also great? Or is it worse because it's 3? Yeah. I think it's just good. It's a good card. It's not terrible. And I mean, like, the problem is I just never upgrade into it because it's expensive. But like the text on the card is still good. It's still a good card, but it is a tier below. It is a tier below. If Mystics get another way to upgrade bonuses that's not a Down the Rabbit Hole thing, but it's like, like Sorcerer upgrades, this card will shoot up in value, I think, but right now it's just good. Not Without a Fight. This is brain, fist, foot, skill. Commit to a skill test only if you're engaged with an enemy. For each enemy engaged with you, Not Without a Fight gains one of those icons. Hey, do you want to work harder for an overpower that doesn't replace itself? Well, boy, howdy, do I ever have a card for you. I think that this card is actually not even fine. Like, I've played it, and I've been like, oh, sick, I get 2 brain icons. Like, I can use it. It does work with Swarm, yes. But even then, like, once again, all this work, like, you're gonna need... Do we want to use this Not Without a Fight on a fucking, like, basically the only enemy with swarming that I'd Not Without a Fight with is the cats from Saturn, right? Because everything else is like 1 or 2 fight. Or the, what's its nuts? The damn flying guys where if you evade them in Search for Kadath would be another good one. That would be another good one to evade. The Hellbats or whatever they're good. Whatever they're going for. But I think overall, this card is just... Sometimes it's just a dead card in your hand. Like, it literally does nothing. And you're looking at it being like, why didn't I just put Unexpected Courage into my deck? Like, if you're looking at running Not Without a Fight, may I introduce you to Unexpected Courage? You know? May I introduce you to Unexpected Courage? I've actually, but I will say, I've been in places where Not Without a Fight was good. And it actually did things. But would it have been better if it was just an Unexpected Courage? Yes, probably. True Survivor. 3 cost, 3 experience, return 3 innate skills from your discard pile to your hand. This is an example where Resourceful is the reason why this card is bonkers. However, I still think this effect is great. I think it's still a great effect. But it becomes busted with Resourceful and Stella, for example, or just Resourceful. Or just Resourceful. But it is expensive, but I mean, like, being able to return 3 innate skills from your discard pile to your hand is a very good effect. Alright. Eat Lead. What the fuck? 0 cost. 2 experience. It's an event. Tactic. Fast. Play when you activate the fight ability on a firearm asset. You may spend extra ammo tokens from that asset. When you reveal chaos tokens for this attack, reveal X additional chaos tokens. Choose one to resolve and ignore the rest. Damn, I'm really paying 2 experience for this? Man. It's not great, but it has a home, right? But it has a home. It has a home in, like, the shotgun decks. But you have to spend it from that asset. Ugh, nah. I don't like this card. I don't like it. Because in theory, you're going to pass. Because you're, like, designing your deck to pass. Where am I putting this, chat? I think it's down here, right? It's got to be in here. It's got to be in the dump. It's got to be in the dumpster. Yeah, just shoot the gun. Just shoot the gun. Just shoot the gun. Armor of Ardennis. This is a 4-cost, 5 experience, body slot, soaks for 4 meat. When damage is assigned to Armor of Ardennis, exhaust Armor of Ardennis, cancel 1 of that damage. Yo, card's good. It's expensive as hell, but if you're looking for soak, you can, it's very good. Right? Like, if you're looking for meat soak, this card is incredible. Right? It's expensive. It's expensive. But I think it's a good card. Eidetic Memory. Oh man, Bryn used to love this card. Bryn played this card a bunch, but Bryn hasn't played it in forever. It's a 3 experience dash cost event. It's a spirit. Plays an exact copy of an inside event in any investigator's discard pile, including the resource cost. Remove that event from the game. Remove Eidetic Memory from the game instead of discarding it. Interesting. I mean, that is a good effect. Obviously, it goes better with the things. I think it's just generally a good effect, though. Like, more copies of cards is nice, you know? Weird that it's a spirit, huh? Kind of strange that it's a spirit card. Does that also seem strange to everybody? Like, I don't know about you, but this lady floating in a fucking weird, like, cosmic library as the world shifts and shapes around her. Seems yuck. Is Shed a Light an insight? Let's find out. Shed a Light. It is an insight. Seems fun in that min deck of mine that I'm thinking, huh? Remove that event from the game. Yeah, isn't it crazy that, like, you know, comparing the two? But I think the effect is still good, right? More copies of cards. Alright. But why would you want to remove a Shadow Light rather than just recurring it with a Resourceful? You'd only play the Eidetic Memory when you're nearing the end of the campaign. Or the end of the scenario, rather. Right? Like, it's like, basically, it's your 5th and 6th, like, final copy of Shadow Light. You know? Alright, no Stone Unturned. 2 cost, 5 experience, insight, fast. Play during any Lightning Bolt player window. Choose an investigator at a location. That investigator searches his or her deck for a card, draws it, and shuffle his or her deck. So obviously, tutoring is a very strong effect. However, 5 experience is a lot. You know? Oh, great and Joe. Hell yeah. I gotta put it in great. I think it is a tier above the other one. It is expensive, but look, going through your whole deck is really nice, you know? I like upgrading into this in a single Astounding Rev late in the game. You're doing the single Astounding Rev so you can find it, right? You want to find your one-ofs, because that's what this card's really good for. Yeah, just, it's a great card, just very expensive, but, like, tutoring out the specific card you need is really nice, because you can just, like, keep this in your opening hand, and it's like, oh, this is the card I need to win with. Sharon's Obol. Permanent, exceptional. When earning experience during the resolution of a scenario, if you're not defeated during that scenario, you earn 2 additional experience. If you're defeated during that scenario, you are killed. Yeah, I mean, especially now with how Arkham is, it's very hard to die, right? I have a code in that I follow, that if my rogue took Sharon's Obol and they are in danger, and it's between me potentially dying to save them or just leaving, I will always leave. They have made their choice. They have taken the ferryman's deal, and they will die because of that. However, I do think there's a reason why we don't play it at the table, is because it kind of just sucks for multiplayer, you know? It's one of those things where I hate the card personally, and it's definitely not needed. I think, personally, with how the scenarios give out XP, I understand why people like it, and I also just got to respect that it's very little for the Obol, right? It's a very little upfront cost. However, unless you're a new player, like if Eric takes this when we play our first game together, I will never save you. I will never save you. If you're in trouble, you sign the deal. You know what that means. You know what that means. You chose to get more experience, you know? And that's on you. Absolutely busted card, though. Card's wild. The Lupara. This is a 3-cost, 3 experience, item, weapon, firearm, illicit. Uses 2 ammo, playing it does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Spend an ammo, fight, you get +1 fist and deal +1 damage to the attack. If it enter play this turn, you get an additional +1 fist and deal an additional +1 damage for this attack. So this is, I would consider this to be a great weapon. However, it's not a normal weapon, right? Like, this isn't the weapon that you set down and you like set it and forget it, and then when something shows up, you kill with it. This is working with stuff like sleight of hand. This is working for like getting the weapon in, or like tricking the weapon in somehow. Obviously with sleight of hand, it's like really good, but I think this is just a great design weapon, but it's also a very good weapon. It's also a very good weapon. And then when you have used it and you've got the bonus, you like used it against the boss enemy or the big health enemy, the victory enemy that showed up, you can still fight with it in the long term, but you probably also have other tricks up your sleeve. And I think it's a great weapon that lives in a very specific type of deck. Cheat Death. This is a 1-cost, 5 experience trick. It's faded. Fast. Play when you'll be defeated. Disengage from each enemy engaged with you. Discard all cards in your threat area. Heal 2 horror and 2 damage, and move to any revealed location with no enemies. If it is your turn, remove Cheat Death from the game. I have a hard time looking at cards like this and figuring out where a card like this should sit, right? It's really nice, though. The effects are really good if you would be defeated. However, I'm going to actually... it's going to go in fine. It's pretty much like it and Devil's Luck are very similar. It and Devil's Luck are very similar. The difference is that one costs 4 experience more, and it gives you some stuff, you know? Yeah, it's fine. Time Warp, let's go. 1 cost, 2 experience, fast. Play immediately after an investigator location finishes resolving an action during his or her turn. Undo that action. Return the game state to exactly the way it was before that action was performed, including that action's cost. I love this card, and I wish that Mystic had more weird design space like this in the recent expansions. I think this card is good. And I love the question where someone asked online, they were like, it was like, because like they know the answers. No, it was actually, no, sorry, it was Nick in our Discord channel, I think. There was like, explain to me what happens when you time warp a delve too deep that defeated a character. I love that. Isn't that just the funniest thing? Yeah. I think it's a good card, though. I think the effect is good. I think it's definitely outclassed, and it's also like, it's one of those things. It's one of those things that is just kind of like not the best. Like, it's outclassed, but it's still fun and flavorful. Seal of the Elder Sign. 5 experience skill. Do not reveal chaos tokens on the chaos bag for this test. Treat the chaos token revealed for this test as an Elder Sign. When this test ends, remove Seal the Elder Sign from the game. So expensive, right? Like, so expensive. And, I love when you play this in gym. Don't remind me. I needed to get my Song of the Dead to hit, okay? I need a 5 experience. Draw a skull card. I mean, I think in certain investigators this goes up in value. But I think, honestly, it's just like really outclassed, right? Like, it's just outclassed at this point. Do I think... I think it's still good, though. I think it's still a good card. You'll know when you want it, and the effect is still very good. If you have 5 experience kicking around, fucking buy it. You'll love it, right? It basically just is pass a test, Yeah, but I think it's like slow, it's like even trending down. If there was like a stock market for like the value of a card in the game, this one is like still trending down, There's a lot of overcosted cards in this set with regard to XP. Oh yeah, definitely seems like it, huh? Boom, boom, boom. Even you, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, there's a lot. All right. Newspaper 2. So 1 cost, 2 experience. Item. You get +2 book. If you have no clues, as a reaction when you discover 1 or more clues at your location. If you have no clues, discover an additional clue at your location. Yeah, card's good. Is it great? It's great as a flex. Which is where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put this in great because I do think this is a great card, and you're only playing it if you're a flex investigator, or if you're like playing solo where your clues get spent like that, right? It's... Yeah, I think it's a great card. I think, and yeah, also in any scenarios where you spend clues a lot. Yeah. I'm for it. I'm down for this. I think it's a great card too. I think it's great. Even like in 2-player even, I think it could be really nice as well. If you're spending clues a lot in a campaign. Yeah. Infighting. Oh, I talked about this card yesterday. All right, chat. We did an expanded guide yesterday. Who do you think we talked about? Who do you think I talked about in that expanded guide for this card? 1 cost, 3 experience. Fast. Play after the enemy phase begins. Cancel attacks made by non-elite enemies against you this phase. It was Daniela. It was. I think that 3 experience is too much for a dodge. Because if you are... if you're getting attacked by more than 1 enemy, like if you need to play this card, you're in a bad situation. However, I think in Daniela, this card's actually kind of poggy, right? Because you can just like grab a bunch of dudes, come to me, come to me, come to me, come to me, and then you can just like punch them all in the face because her ability is a limit once per turn or phase. The Justin, it's like 2 unexpected courages because it's 2 book and 2 foot. The April Fool's Justin is dead. Normal Justin is back. You talk about how she's actually the worst at fixing cars and boats in Innsmouth? No, I didn't talk about that. Honestly, that joke's kind of played to me. That joke's, I'm kind of done with that joke. It was funny a few times, but now I'm out of it. It's like the whole like Lonnie Ritter not being a mechanic. Yeah, it was funny at first, but now I'm out of it. Now I'm like I'm like looking for new jokes. I'm like looking for something that's like really weird to get me really. I want to feel alive. Anyway, card's fine. And then we got Key of Ys. 3 cost, 5 experience. You get +1 to each your skills for each horror on Key of Ys. When any amount of horror will be placed on you, place 1 of that horror on Key of Ys. When Key of Ys leaves play, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. Yeah, I think this card's also busted. New to hear about busted, cult shouldn't exist. Put a key in it. You know, we'll asterisk that one for sure. I think that's very reasonable. Yo, this costs 10 XP now. Absolutely nutter butters of a card, huh? Absolutely nutter butters. I just can't even believe it, to be honest. Travis played with it once. This is kind of rude of him, wasn't it? Travis played with it once and then said we can never play with it again. So Travis got to play with it, and then he was like, no more. However, I have played with this card once, where I did my solo Finn run through Dunwich, and we played Key of Ys. I played Key of Ys in my solo Finn. And I also played Sharon Zobel because, you know, if you're playing solo and you die, why would I make a new character? And it was really fun. It was very powerful. That's where I also actually played the Moxie. I played Moxie and Stealth there, too. I played it exactly once in Preston. Power overwhelming, baby. Well, that's it. Those are our busted, fantastic, some greats. Some goods. Are you also valuing the return 2 cards? No, I'm kind of done talking about the return 2 cards right now. Because the return 2 cards, like, aren't even real IMO anymore. Until we get some sort of official statement on when or where or if return 2 cards are going to see printing again, I think it's just better if they're just, like, removed from the discussion on our videos. Because I personally think the return 2s are dead, and I imagine we're going to see them get reprinted in probably print on demand, I'm going to wager. That's my guess anyway. Those are good cards. A lot of fine cards here. I wonder if I want to just see what the Dunwich rating was before we compare. Give me a second. Blows my mind they didn't include them in the repackaging. I understand why they didn't. It's a lot of regret playing. The early boxes especially had a bunch. All right, we have, like, if we compare, let's compare this. So this is Carcosa's for the regret plane. And this is Dunwich. Get out of here, thing. I'm making a video. So it looks like one more. The fine actually looks like the exact same amount. Nope, no. There's a whole other row. There's a whole other row for that. Good. I mean, Dunwich has a lot of good cards. Yeah, Dunn has a whole bunch more of those. We go to Great and Fantastic. And then still only 2 busted cards. But yeah, there's a link down in the description. if you want to check out this the tier list on your own time. But again, as I said earlier, I'm just some guy. What do I know, right? I'm just some guy who tells jokes on the internet. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I'll be doing the Forgotten Age one in probably 3 months ish. So we will do that again in the future. And then I'm excited because in the fall I'm gonna do a revisit on the Scarlet Keys, which is actually really fun because I actually have my comparison rating where I ranked how much I was hyped and how strong I thought they were on my initial thoughts for them. And then we're going to go to this new one a year later to see how close I was to my initial assessments on the cards. And this is the first year where I actually have that, so I'm very excited to do that video. In the meantime, have a good one. Thanks for watching. Have a good, and as always, GG's.